I'm Mel.
And I'm Mark.
And this is the Cerebral Sports Podcast. On the Cerebral Sports Podcast, we champion the mental development, wellness, and health of athletes, big, small, professional, and amateur.
Week to week, we'll have compelling conversations with athletes, coaches, parents, and mental health professionals to discuss their experiences and point of views as we work to bring awareness to the most vital muscle in an athlete's body, the mind.
All right, here we go. Welcome. Hello and welcome everybody back to another episode of Cerebral Sports Podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest like every week, but this one I think we're going to take it to another level when it comes to being special. We have a former coach of LIU former head coach, of LIU Sharks, the LIU Sharks now formerly known, a mentor of mine to this very day, someone that will definitely, we recognize to have a pillar in my life to kind of give me and help with my success throughout the entire tenure track from college all the way through to where I am right now. This man has touched many lives through coaching college football. He's a true person with a lot of values and morals. His compass is always due north. Never really talked about doing anything that would jeopardize or come in conflict with student athletes. He's always someone that's always trying to correct the student athlete and make sure they're doing it the right way. Coach Gil, if I could sum it up in a few words, like I'm going to try to do, and I'm hopeful that my co-partner Marlon here will definitely add to this. He is a genuine person. He is an honest person. He's extreme hard worker. He's someone that's have taught me the true value of hard work and a good work ethic and being consistent. And I'm very excited that we have an opportunity here to talk to him about some of the things that have driven him into helping young people continuously grow. He has touched so many people that are currently either in the professional setting or in the college setting or in, any kind of sports setting. He has touched so many people. I'm going to stop here because I know Marlon has a boatload more that he can throw in there.
I know you could keep going forever, and I could too. And this is a different podcast episode because this is almost like a flower bringing and giving session to someone who deserves it more than words can express, because I really think that the premise of our podcast and the premise of Cerebral Sports is to talk about how you develop minds of young athletes and student athletes. And Coach John Gill did this. I don't know if he did it subconsciously. I don't know if he consciously made an effort to do this, but he pulled me from a place where I was going to stop playing football in college. He helped me develop mental toughness. He helped me develop confidence. He helped me develop muscles in a body too that I'm thankful for to this day. But he's someone that I watched change the life or lives of student athletes, my teammates, their mental capacity, their outlook on life. And like you said, just a genuine person. And, he's honest almost to a fault. In a world that's very cutthroat and conniving, Coach Gil is a breath of fresh air. And I think that people envy that about him because they cannot mirror those characteristics. So, we're here with him today and we'll get more into that. But I just want to salute Coach Gil. I know that if we polled the players that have played at LIU Post Pioneers, LIU Sharks over his time there, nothing but rave reviews. Even the guys that didn't like him at first became believers and lovers of Coach Gil. So we got to give it up for Coach John Gill, man. We got to give it up. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, and I Coach Gil, welcome. And I definitely want to say that I'm excited to get this thing going. So let's get right into it. Coach Gil, please, can you please tell us a little bit about your upbringing? What made you become involved in sports? And if you played others, what sports did you play growing up? I want to really let the people know everything. What sports did we play?
We played football, baseball on an organizational level. Recreationally, we did basketball and boxing. That was kind of the kind of sports that I've kind of spent my time doing.
Okay, and then what made you focus, I guess, on football? Like, what was it that football brought to the table? Because you did play college football, right? I know the people that are listening don't know, but you played at the University of Akron, right? What made you pick that sport to be your main sport?
Oh, that's a great question. It was something that I guess Started out because my father wasn't from this country. So, and he had the mentality and personality of he wanted to kind of indoctrinate himself in American culture. So I remember when I was about 4 or 5 years old, he asked me, do I want to watch the game with him? And I was eating English muffin with cream cheese. That's the truth. I used to have them. I never put the two pieces of bread together. I used to have it separate. And so I was eating on a plate, and he said, "Do you want to watch this game?" And it was the Bears were playing. I think that's the first time I saw Mike Singletary, and I just started watching it with him, and seemed like fun games. It seemed the aggression, the physicality, kind of appealed to me. And then just my father kind of bringing me along the way from that point on. And then once you got to start playing it, it's a very addictive game.
Where's you mentioned your father not being from the country, not being from America, immigrating here. Where's your father from? Where are your roots?
My father is Montenegrin and my mother's Croatian.
Very, very, very nice. Very unique and different. So you started playing sports. Your dad wanted to acclimate to the country, be a part of, things that were clearly important to American culture. What informed the decision for you to end up being a quarterback? When did you become a quarterback or have that position be tied to what you were going to do in football?
Yeah, so it's something I tried to avoid, actually, because my favorite player, I used to love Reggie White growing up. He was kind of a hero of mine. And then as I got older, 1993, Marvin Jones was the first pick of the New York Jets from Florida State, linebacker. He became my favorite player. So I wanted to kind of play defense. So my first year of football, I was a center because I was chubby, and I played defense, and I was happy. Then the next year when I was 11, I was playing defense for the first week. And then somebody told the coach that I can throw, and then he made me throw the football. And I guess he liked the way I was throwing the football, because I always practiced as a quarterback, but I never wanted to play quarterback because I felt like I'd lose out on playing defense. And so the coach told me that if you play quarterback, you can also play defense. And so after that point on, I was happy because I got to play defense. Because, playing Pop Warner quarterback, you don't throw much.
Right.
The real action is contact. So, but then as I got older, I don't know, quarterback seemed, watching John Elway was always a hero of mine. So watching John Elway play football was very, very inspiring to me, and kind of started going that other direction.
The other direction in the sense that you were okay with the sport, you were okay playing that position?
Going playing quarterback, yeah.
Playing quarterback. Okay. All right. So let's go now. You're in college. How was your college experience playing sports, man? Like, what was the transition? I know, before college, you went to high school, you went to St. Francis Prep, correct?
Yeah.
How was that experience? Let's start there.
Not too positive.
Okay.
Kind of it's a good thing in a way, but it kind of taught me some of the things that have inspired me to coach up until this point. And then when I went to college, it kind of fostered even more of what I became. I'm a big believer your perspectives are shaped through your experiences. And so when you go through things, it shapes the way you think, it shapes the way you mold, the way you're molded.
Mm-hmm.
And, those experiences did a lot for me. So despite the fact it wasn't a positive experience, it was something that was beneficial because it did help me help others later on.
Okay, so that was high school. So now college, better experience. You enjoyed it. It was the same.
College was great. College was the greatest thing in my life, by far.
Explain.
As far as any personal experience that just deals with you, most of the time in life as you get older, so you're gonna have great memories that you're sharing with your significant other, the person you're married to. You're gonna have a lot of great memories. But as far as my personal experience that just involved me and nobody else but me, college was by far the best thing ever in the world. So, I tell people all the time, there are three types of people in the world. There's people that are scared to go into a jungle. There are people that are that are happy just being in the jungle, and there are people willing to become the king of the jungle. And so when I got to college, I realized that I was a second type of person. I was just happy being in the jungle. And then when you look to your left and you look to your right, and you see guys that are 3, 4, 5 years older than you, really on the cusp of playing NFL football. And I'm not talking about a training camp. I'm talking about actually making a lot of money playing this game. And you see the way they conduct themselves, the alpha male type of mentality, the bravado, the work ethic. You kind of realize yourself, if you have the ability to self-reflect, which we all the time struggle with, but if you're able to do that sometimes, how far you are off that scale of what it takes to really be great at something. And if I went to some small college, nothing against small colleges, but I wasn't around those type of men, in that type of culture and that type of environment, I would definitely be a different person than I was today. So I'm really grateful for that experience, to be honest with you.
Wow, yo, that is mind blowing what you just said. That is really mind blowing. Like for a student athlete or a young person, or the parents of young people who are playing sports who have aspirations and goals, how could they develop, say, that alpha male mentality, that wanting to be the king of the jungle, if they don't have it naturally? They're just happy to be there. How do you go about changing something like that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So reality was, I was I have to kind of take it back a little bit, but my father was a very influential person in my life, extremely influential. I don't know if everybody's closer to one parent growing up or another, but I was definitely a lot closer to my father. Just my father and me has more in common. I'm grateful for my mother, but my father we have a lot in common. So my father, English was a second language. He necessarily wasn't a great communicator, and he would get frustrated a lot of times expressing his thoughts. And a lot of times I wasn't able to comprehend what he was saying and read between the lines. And on top of that, you had that, and then you had another layer of me thinking, oh, he never played the sport. I mean, he was a very, he was a champion in his country at karate, but I figured, he knew nothing about football. So what is he telling me about anything about football for? And so he would try to express to me when I was in high school that, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But because because my high school experience was was like a Disneyland experience, as most high school, I think, to be honest, most high school students, athletes have that experience in New York, in most states, to be honest with you. But, I look to my left, I look to my right, and I see guys not doing anything, and I'm doing something. And I'm like, of course I'm working hard. What are you talking about? I'm not working hard in my mind, And then, so when you get to college and you realize, and you talk to people that they were, some of the grind and demands that their high school coaches and programs put on them. Because when I was in high school, I used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and train. That was very standard. Me and my father did that together. And there were days that I would be very lethargic and just be going through the motions. And whenever that happened, and it happened once or twice because of this result, he would leave me on the field. So if we'd be half hour in and he didn't like my effort, he'd get in the car and drive home. So then I had, let's see, about 6:30, I had about an hour to get dressed, shower, catch, and run to the bus stop to make the bus to get to school, to be on time. So I had to run back home because I didn't understand just going through emotions is not good enough. Just showing up and, stretching and yawning in between and not having basically the eye of the tiger is not acceptable. But again, because I'm the only kid in my school waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and nobody else is doing anything, it's like,
yeah, that's far and away better than what anybody else is doing. This is amazing.
And you think to yourself, like, yeah, I'm doing great. And then again, when you get around real athletes, really competitive athletes who basically they have the mentality that they're going to make the NFL or die trying, it wakes you up. It wakes you up.
So your father's work ethic, even though it was a sport that didn't relate to football, he was able to pick up all those things that helped him become successful. And that was what he was trying to instill in you. It sounds like that's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, the discipline, but see, with him, in my sense, not to take anything away from him, I kind of look back on it now. I think it was a little easier for him because he was competing in a one-on-one sport. When you're playing quarterback, when you're playing point guard in basketball, I mean, yeah, you got to contribute positively to your team, but it's not a sole one-on-one. When you step into that ring, because my brother did some professional fighting, when you step into that ring, it's one-on-one. It's like there's no way. So when you're sparring, there's
nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go. It's no, I'm going to take this play off. When you take this play off, you can get your ass knocked out. So it was a different sport, but it's still the same type of mentality. But just in team sports, you can hide more.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go after college. All right. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but it was weird because I transferred home, right? For all those that didn't know, I transferred from Virginia State. And in my transfer process, I had went to my high school to have a conversation with my high school coach because I wanted to kind of get back into, the New York system of college football. I wanted to stay home. And as I was in my high school, I looked over and I saw you. I don't know if you remember that, but I saw you.
I remember that. I remember that very vividly. It was Mr. Ponterado, right?
Coach P, yeah. And I saw you there, and I was like, "Who the heck is new guy, new teacher, whatever?" Didn't think anything of it. Fast forward, I believe it was the spring of that very same year. I see you again at Post, right? And now you're coaching at Post. So, what made you decide after playing college football? What made you decide to become a coach? Like, what was the draw?
Wait, hold on. What the hell was he doing at Sewanaka High School?
So I was trying.
We're gonna get there. That's what I want. Yeah.
I did student teaching that spring semester of 2004. I did student teaching, and while I was student teaching, I'd spend my time trying to network to try to get a teaching position at a school. And because I had no interest in coaching football, to be quite honest with you, I had no interest in it. Wasn't something I wanted to do. Wasn't something I intended to do. Wasn't even a thought in my mind. So, I wound up speaking to somebody, and they're like, "You know what? You should go to the City Post spring game because some football coaches / PE teachers go to the game, and you can kind of meet some people, and maybe something happens for you." So that's when I went to the game, and I was at the game, and then Coach Collins wound up seeing me at the game. He remembered me from high school, and he just came up to me and said, "We have a position open. You'd be available if you'd be available. That if you want it, maybe we could talk about it and it's available." So I was like, okay, I still wasn't too really fired up about it. I was, just told him when I met with him, I think early couple of days after that, I said, I need to secure a teaching position. And then if I can do that, then I'll come and coach. But it wasn't necessarily something I wanted to do, to be quite honest with you. Never even thought about doing it.
Wow.
So.
Wow. That is amazing. I feel like I hear this a lot from coaches. There wasn't an interest a lot of times in coaching. It kind of falls into your lap and then becomes such a humongous part of like who you are. So at what point during that coaching journey did you say like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing? This is for me. I love doing this. Your passion for people that listen, passion is palpable. No other coach's passion jumped out like Coach Gill's passion over my time at Post, and I'm sure most would agree. No one's passion was bigger. Maybe some matched it at times, but how do you go from not wanting to do it or not caring much to do it to becoming as passionate about it as you were or are?
Yeah. So when I got the opportunity, my father asked me to give it a try for 1 year. Kind of thing. So it's kind of funny when I played baseball. I was a much better baseball player than football player growing up. So I wanted to quit baseball after my freshman season. High school had a lot of hopes for me, but I wanted to quit baseball because I think it was incredibly boring. So we played one-on-one basketball game, and if I won the game, then I get to quit baseball, and if he won, then, and so he did his famous European style defense. For the people that know there you go. The arms out, bear hug, the whole thing.
Yo, if I could have been a fly on that wall, Seeing
Yo,
Coach Gil
bro.
trying to back down his dad for the hook shot layups and his father
But
tackling him on the court. That is
Coach
phenomenal.
Gil Coach Gil put those same tactics to work, so the apple don't fall too far from the tree, man. It
Wait,
really
but hold
doesn't.
on. Who won that game? How did that end?
No, so I kept playing. So he won. So
You know who won?
I kept playing baseball. But so that was one time he asked me to do something and wound up competing for it and he won. And then this time, he just asked me to try it out for a year. So tried out for a year and my first day there on the job, I said, this is not going to last more than a season. It was just a different type of atmosphere, different type of aura than I was used to. I'm used to dealing with guys that are, I know Jeremiah's I'm sure he's a fan of the program, and Jeremiah's a top level athlete, but there's a lot of Jeremiahs. You know what I'm saying? It's not Jeremiah and then the next guy is way down the list. I mean, way down. I mean, it's not like that at all. It's not like that at all over there. And so I was just like, this is wild to me, the disparity. But then when I wound up, honestly, as I started doing it, I started seeing like how many kids just don't know how to do anything. They don't know how to run. They don't know how to play football. They don't know fundamentals. They don't know anything. And it's like, you feel bad for these kids. And it kind of goes back to my story in high school, where I really wasn't taught anything too much, to be quite honest with you. Everything I learned was my father taught me through tapes, or I go to a college camp and they teach me those things there. So I kind of put myself in those kids' shoes and started feeling, to be honest, feeling bad that these kids were graduating high school programs and not understanding the basics of simple things of football that are just, which I didn't know myself, to be quite honest. My first college practice, within the first 10 minutes, I said, holy fuck, this is different. I mean, just the pace of it, the intensity of it, the coaches, the sharpness, the crispness, it was one of those moments that just hits you. And you kind of realize, and again, I kind of got angry of like, what did I do for 4 years? How much I wish I listened to my father. And at the same time, though, at the same time, we always give ourselves our own shoulder to cry on also and make ourselves feel better. At the same time, I said to myself, if I listen to my father, you need someone to be pushing you constantly. So again, you can only push yourself so far. You need somebody to, take you from what you are to what you can be. And because, naturally human beings are complacent.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I was driving today and I was thinking about this this interview today, this podcast. And I was really thinking to myself, like, wow, what a profound impact you had on me. And, I was going to ask you, what happens to kids who don't have that person, right? Like I got you late, obviously, in my athletic career, if you want to call it that. But say if I would have met you because you worked at my high school and I met you in 10th grade or something like that, you were coaching my high school football team. I mean, that impact, if it was well received by me, could have been so much greater because I got you earlier on in my athletic career and things like that. So for kids out there who don't have a John Gill or someone like yourself to help them combat the natural human instinct to be complacent, what do they do? How do they get better? How do you get sharper? How do you prepare yourself for that jungle that you mentioned?
Yeah, that's a great question. To be honest with you, I don't have the answer. It's not just about necessarily, because the easy thing could say, put yourself in a better environment. First of all, if you say to yourself, I want to be something to somebody, I want to be a basketball player, I want to be a softball player. I mean, you try to put yourself in the best environment, but that's the problem. A lot of student athletes and parents, they'd rather have their child be the star of the team on a rinky-dink team than be the backup on an elite team where you're actually competing every day, where you're either trying to take someone's position or they're trying to take yours. Because, that is kind of, one of the old expressions in life is that's a lie. And a lot of people who watch this, a lot of young student athletes who watch this will learn that a lot of these cliches you hear in life are lies, and a lot of them are so true. One of the biggest lies is treat people how you want to be treated. That's a complete lie. It's treat people how they want to be treated. Mm-hmm. Let's be candid about that. But to be honest with you, people tell you in the job world it's so competitive, man. You're going to compete every day. You got to compete every day. At the end of the day, it's about who you know. So that's another fallacy. But at the end of the day, if you want to reach the core of yourself, of a human being, where you handling adversity on a consistent basis. There was a wonderful thing on the internet a couple of days ago from the Duke coach, Kara Lawson. She's a phenomenal coach. Yeah. She talked about how, basically, and if you guys don't know it, you should look it up. It's pretty recent, but basically being a hard life never ends. And so if you want to be able to handle that hard life, because no matter who you know, and you're having a great job, have a great life is going to get hard at some point, whatever it is, whether it's a tragedy that happens in your life, whether it's adversity that hits you out of nowhere, something's going to happen in your life, and multiple times. And, to be honest with you, if you don't learn the values of perseverance, and learn the values of striving, and learn the values of faith, and learn the values of drive and determination, you're going to fall off the track, to be quite honest with you. So it's not about necessarily, put your son or daughter in an environment to compete. So you teach them life skills. So when they're going for that job, because again, that job is going to go to a person who knows somebody, but it's really about teaching them how to handle adversity and to fight for something when things aren't going right.
That's a fact. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on that. So let me ask you this: when it came to you coaching your athletes, your quarterbacks, your players, the guys like myself and like Marlon, what were the things that you would do? Because I know a lot of them, but the people that are listening, they don't know the things that you would do that would challenge us on a daily basis. I can speak to one thing, and I will share that with this audience, that one thing you did to me. And that moment that that was like, it broke me. I was like, oh, but then I realized what it was. And then for that moment, anytime that comes up, anything that relates, makes me feel any close to that, I know how to respond. So what are some of the things that you would do to your athletes to put them in those adverse situations while you have?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in coaching. I think the first thing when you coach, not that I'm an expert on it, but I do believe that you can't take a cookie cutter approach. Not one philosophy is going to fit every single person you coach, to be honest with you. But generally speaking, you're dealing with a scholarship level athlete. Obviously, they usually have some talent. In some rare cases, there may be people that are very, 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 very far away from even competing. So that's a kind of a different case, but which we'll get into in a second. But generally, my philosophy is struggle and failure. Listen, there's different ways to coach, and there's no set way to coach. It's just what I resonate with, what resonates with me, what makes me feel good, what I believe into my core and my soul is you got to put people through struggle, and you got to want them to fail. I'm not interested in them succeeding because in life, yes, handling success is critical. No question about it. There is a component to handling success. But no matter how much success you have, you're eventually going to fail. And there's some type of perseverance and some type of mental grit that you develop through constant failure and getting it wrong and getting it wrong and getting it wrong and getting it wrong and getting knocked down and then finally succeeding. When I was a young athlete and I really was a fake athlete for my first 2 years in college, I would be praying for blizzards before morning conditioning at 5:30 in the morning. I'd be walking over there saying, oh my God, it's 1 hour of hell. And then my third, fourth, and fifth year, I felt like I was Superman. Like you couldn't tell me I couldn't climb Mount Everest with no water, to be quite honest with you. Because it's just the mentality, the mental shift. I was never challenged. I thought I was being challenged because things got hard, but I was never trying to get broken. And deep down, my first 2 years, while I was attempting to get broken, the one thing that wouldn't let me break was at least the fact that I was not worried. I was comfortable being in the jungle. So when it got really, really bad, it got really, really tough, I had too much pride to let a coach, even though I was a complete chump, I had too much pride to let a coach see me broken. I just, it went against the fabric of the way I was raised, to be quite honest with you. It just went against that. I had too much pride the way I was raised to show that, but I definitely wasn't trying to be king of the jungle. I was just trying to, let me just survive this and get out alive. And then third, fourth, fifth year, I turned into Tarzan. But So, it's a very unique experience.
So you have the philosophy that in order for your athletes to have success, they have to be put in really, really tough, compromising positions and show them that failure they can learn from, right? Failure is something that you got to not get used to, but be able to respond to.
Yeah, failure's a friend. I mean, Will Smith's got this great 90-second clip on YouTube talking about failure. I mean, a lot of people, Denzel Washington's got a wonderful compilation of some great quotes on YouTube about failure. I mean, those two guys are, but the problem is this, to be quite honest with you, a lot of people, student athletes, parents, coaches, they'll play that, they'll nod their head to it, they'll pound their chest to it. And the minute that their child themselves or somebody they care about is experiencing it, they don't want it anymore.
They don't want no parts of it. They're talking about failing forward.
And that's okay. And that's okay. But you just got to know who you are and what you're about in yourself. I'm very comfortable seeing people fail that I coach, even in games. At the end of the day, when you're a position coach, you'll probably get blamed for it. This guy's not doing well. He's not doing well. He's not doing well. But you know what? That's one thing I'm most proud of in my previous history of being a coach, was that every quarterback I was able to coach, pretty much almost all of them received tremendous recognition due to their hard work, postseason awards, and numerous things like that. But they all, for the most part, struggled at some point. All of them. Majority of them, and I'm just saying majority, it could be all, but I'm going to say majority of them, we're talking about getting benched. And I never lost faith in them, panicking them, because I know they were doing all the things behind the scenes. I mean, there's this whole philosophy of water the bamboo. You guys familiar with that? Water the bamboo?
Nah, please do enlighten us.
So, I'm not an environmental expert, but a bamboo tree, you can water the seed for 3 years and nothing happens. I think 2 or 3 years. Don't quote me on that, but it could be longer. And in the 4th year, the bamboo tree grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Wow. And then and then if you ever look at a bamboo tree, they're humongous trees. But it takes consistent watering every single day and not seeing anything for it to happen. Whereas a lot of people will say, well, what's the point? What's the point? What am I doing this for? Why am I doing this for? Now, on the flip side of that, right, let me put myself in those people's shoes. You have to make sure you have the right plan. And that's the tough thing, right? So if things aren't working for you, okay, you're a defensive back and you can't cover a tackling dummy. For those that don't know, a tackling dummy doesn't move. So if you can't cover a tackling dummy, okay, and you just keep working and working and working, but you don't have necessarily the right plan behind it. And that's the tough part, is finding the right plan. That, again, these are little things they don't tell people. They give you the keep working. No. Make sure you have the right plan and keep working.
You're working at the right things.
Exactly right. In the right way.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'll start seeing, and then if you keep doing it, eventually you don't want to win, but you'll see a tremendous amount of improvement, a tremendous amount of an incredible experience.
Yeah. Go ahead. I got one more, Mo. I know you got something.
No, you're good, man. Rock on. We good. We flowing.
One of the things when I played for you, Coach, right, and when we would win, right, we would win. Even now, I'm coaching at Nassau, and there's maybe like 2 games that I think I kind of got the reaction that I was looking for. I got that. Damn, I didn't think that was going to be. One of those things. Having athletes that fail and fail and fail and grow and fail, right? When they have that success, how do you go about them, and how do you go about encouraging them to enjoy those successful moments? Are you celebrate it for 24 hours? Is it something that they should hold on to for a long time? If they deal with some more adversity, be able to lean back on that past success to kind of get their confidence back in order? Or are you more or less like, this is what's supposed to happen because the work was put in, right? Like whatever one you pick, Coach, just please, I want you to elaborate and explain it to us.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's more obviously that last part, but I don't think anything changed. I don't know. I don't look at failure and success as a final entity. I think obviously it's great to have to wind up being on the positive side after you strive so hard and put so much sweat and determination into something. I think that's wonderful. But that means today you were successful. But if you learn anything from those previous failure experiences, that doesn't mean anything for tomorrow. So, I think that it's critical that they kind of use that experience just as another stepping stone of saying, you know what, I've come this far, but I didn't come this far to only come this far. So that's kind of the kind of mentality and perspective that fortunately that most guys that I've been close to that have had that opportunity have followed.
Got you.
That's amazing, man. Like, you know, Coach Gill used to always tell us that after we graduated, we could be friends, right? He said after you graduate, we could be friends. I don't think I could ever look at you as a friend because
I actually said, I said if we still know each other when we're 35, we'll be friends.
Is that what you said? It's just a wealth of knowledge. Like it's just so valuable, your outlook, because my outlook on life is nothing like yours. But yours is so profound and so helpful. And it's refreshing because I feel like this is not something that's common. I feel you have a unique gift to have a point of view that is always driving and it promotes growth. You know, so I just want to give kudos to you for that. And it gives you an ability to be a superb coach that a lot of coaches don't actually have because, and respect to all coaches, and it's not an easy thing, but I really believe you live what you coach and you exemplify what you coach. If we can kind of match what you're teaching to your own life, like we can literally like trace it. It's like carbon paper. So I say all of that to ask you, is coaching something that would you say that you love to coach, you need to coach? Is that something that you would say?
No, I'm not. I don't think I need to coach. No, I think I need to be involved in people's lives. But as far as needing to coach, I'm not really, that's not something that appeals to me. I feel like I want to be around people and try to help them, you know, accomplish things. So if they're really not a good player and they're struggling at something, I'd like to be in their life to help them accomplish it. But as far as coaching, it's not something I feel like I need to do by any means, to be quite honest.
And when I say coaching, I mean coaching football. I should clarify that because coaching can be
various things. I don't feel like I need to coach football at all, to be quite honest with you. You know, coaching football is a very interesting. You know, I always tell people this: football practice is the greatest waste of time. It's the most necessary. It's the most necessary waste of time ever. Okay, you are a defensive back, and you're horrible at bump and run. You're horrible at it. Okay, so you're gonna go against one of your position members and practice bump and run, who's gonna give you a terrible look most of the time. Maybe because doesn't really care about you getting better. Maybe he doesn't really have the skills that a necessary receiver does. Maybe he doesn't actually work on the one tactic that you're bad at bump and run. Maybe you're a guy that struggles, moving your feet, and so he's just going to bull release you. I mean, he's not really, So you go through practice, you go through Indy, okay, then you go do something else, and then now you go to practice, and now that day your defensive back coach wants you to play off man and one-on-ones. Okay, great. So that whole practice has gone by. Now we're about an hour in, have to stretch special teams, and you haven't done one real bump and run rep. Great. Then we start team, okay, or 7-on-7 a team, and then you're on a rotational basis. And depending on what coverage is called, you may get 4 bump and run reps the whole practice. So you're out there for 2 hours and got 4 reps of something that you're not good at. And then you're going to say to yourself, whoa. Let me stay after practice. Okay, maybe stay after practice, 10, 15 minutes. Okay, and then you take it in. And some places, and this is why I'm so anti-coach of football, they want you off the field in 5 minutes. So we really get no rep after practice. So I don't know how you got better that day. I don't understand. Now, do you need football, to build teamwork, to build cohesiveness within a scheme? Absolutely. But to get better at yourself in your own craft, like, it's not football practice at all. I'm sorry to tell you that. Like, and anyone who I would love to anyone debate this with me. I would love anybody to be. You need to spend time with yourself, by yourself, with a strict plan on working on your weaknesses. Okay. And if you take 60 minutes a day and you go 7 days a week at that 60 minutes, that's 7 hours of getting better at your craft. Okay. And then obviously after a month, that's 28 hours and you've exponentially gotten better. And they're just taking 1 hour a day, half the time, just for yourself. So my whole point is that's why that's why football is like, it's all rules to me, to be quite honest with you. It's just schematic chess, barbaric chess. It's
If you're
Yo,
actually,
listening, if you're listening to
Marlon. His math was mathing just now. Did you hear his
was
math?
it,
Yo, his
yes,
math was mathing, bro.
yes.
There's
Listen,
some quick math.
if you're listening to this, everything that Coach Gill just said, right, is translatable in other aspects of life. And I'm literally putting that translation to my own current life, my own current career aspirations, hurdles, struggles. If there's something that you need to get better at, you won't get better at it in a team scheme. Like practicing on something different with your team will not help you to get better at the things that you individualistically need to get better at. You have to extrapolate time to work on that and have a plan, like you mentioned earlier, right? So you say figure you 60 minutes a day, 5 days a week for a month, and then you'll get better at those weaknesses. But key to that is having a proper plan and not wastefully practicing. But I don't want that to go over anyone's head as to why Coach Gill is saying that football practice is a gigantic waste of time, because I get it. There's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of time where you're not working on anything as an individual. So you might be getting some mental reps. You might, somebody on the team is getting a little bit better, but other people who need to get a lot better are not oftentimes. So, profound perspective. I've never thought of that. And it's just like, I'm mind blown by that. I've never even thought of that.
Staying on that topic with practice, coach, and college. Let's stay with college and high school athletes. What's some of the biggest challenges that, aside from not having a plan and maybe not having the proper work ethic, what are some of the things that you witnessed over your tenure of coaching that you see as a problem that some of these young athletes can kind of fix on their own? Aside from the athletic side, the mental half is what I want you to kind of tap.
That's the thing. It's kind of interesting. Again, and I know, and I'm going to answer the question, but I know I'm wasting my breath. But maybe there's somebody watching this that will maybe. I doubt it. I think hell will freeze over first, but I'm going to take a shot. The first thing that, to be honest with you, the biggest problem goes back to parents in American society, and I guess the world society. It's interesting. I got a little nephew, and he's 4 years old now, and so whenever I throw the ball to him, and I'm sure I'm the only person that does this with him, so I'm going to get steamrolled like a tsunami about this. Whenever I throw the ball to him, though, and he drops it, I don't say anything to him. I don't say, "Come on, catch that." I don't want him to know if it's good or bad. It's amazing that I do a lot of camps, work with kids. And it's amazing. I first got this experience 2 years ago in 2020 in the summer when things kind of started to open up a little bit towards July and such. Working a camp out, outdoors, and the kids were like maybe 7 years old. And they're throwing passes. And every time a kid would drop a pass, he'd look over to the sideline at his parents. And then meanwhile, at the same time, my nephew was about two years old and maybe a month or two. He doesn't realize he's dropping the ball. He has no clue. He wants the next rep. And so where I'm going with this is, besides having to plan all this stuff, you got to have the mentality like whatever just happened literally doesn't matter. But because we're trained in American society of what's good and what's bad and keeping a score, and then of course you're going to have the participation haters, trophy haters come at me because they think I'm talking about participation trophy, which I'm not at all. I'm just talking about it doesn't freaking matter what just happened. That's a trophy that matters. It doesn't matter. You won the game, you lost the game, it's on to the next day. Now, if you lost the game and you don't get up the next day, that's a problem. You won the game, you don't get up the next day, that's a problem. Okay, you drop the ball and you're not ready for the next ball, or you're hoping, oh, please don't throw it to me, or mommy and daddy are mad at me, or I'm mad at my. That's a problem. I'm telling you, once you can develop the mentality that whatever happened, that you don't get fazed by nothing. Nothing rattles me, nothing phases me, especially something as minimal as dropping a ball or catching a ball. I think you're on your way to special things, because all the great athletes, they have the ability to completely slow down the game and have such great comfort and focus in high pressure situations because of the mental stimulation, mental control. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's that Rondo factor. I saw something on Twitter. I don't know much about Rondo at all. I know he's a basketball player, supposed to be pretty good, I'm sure. They asked him, how'd you get better at shooting? I don't know if you saw this or not. He said, I don't give a fuck. And again, whether you understand what that means or not, that's the truth. Like Steph Curry, he can miss 80 in a row. He's gonna think he's gonna hit the next 200. And I'm telling you, a big factor with a lot of these athletes, and that's what's frustrating. That's what's so great about what you're doing, with cerebral sports, it's very frustrating dealing with parents that are willing to pay $200 an hour, and that's kind of cheap for parents that really want to know. $200 an hour for a trainer is actually a good deal, depending on his credentials. They'll pay $200 an hour for physical work, strength conditioning coach, speed coach, basketball coach, but you'll pay nothing for a mental coach. And then you tell your kids from the time they're 5 years old that the game is all mental. 90% of the game is mental. 90% of the game is mental. So from the 5 years old, you hear 90% of the game is mental, but 1% of your resources go to that. Like, so you need to pick and choose. If you don't say that, here's the thing. I don't care if you do that. Just don't say 90% of the game is mental. That's fine. You can choose not to do that. And then spend the 90% of your resources on the physical component of the game. But it is a mental game.
Yeah.
It is.
I agree with you on that. I think as we kind of go through society, I think the mental awareness is starting to pick up more. That's not as taboo as it was back in the day. And I'm hopeful that more people kind of tap into that. But what you were saying from the sports psychology world and like the wording of it is being in the present moment, right? Like what you described to the listener right then and there is just staying in the present moment, not worrying about what just happened. If it was a great thing catching the ball, dropping it, but just being able to stay in the present moment. And if we relate that to what else you put in, I'm just trying to connect the dots for the listeners here.
Sure, please.
Having that plan, right? Having that proper plan and that proper work ethic is going to help you continue on that track to having success, no matter what goes on, right? No matter what adversity you're facing. And I'll be, I know 100% that's why I am as successful as I am today, because all these things that you're speaking about right now, for the 4 years that I was at Post, starting with the first year when I don't think you remember this, but I thought I was in shape, right? I came into the weight room thinking I was in shape, and you were in there with Rob Blount lifting, back squatting. And I was like, I just came back from Virginia State and I'm back squatting, whatever the heck I thought I was back squatting. And you was like, you can't do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, nah, yes, I can. No, you can't. Okay, put it on there. And I failed, right? I got down on that squat and I couldn't get up and I failed. And that right there in that present moment, I'm like, all right, I don't like the way that feels. This man just challenged me. I'm always up for a challenge, but now I got to see what he's about, right? So I kind of just locked into his plan. I kind of just started to make my way into your plan. And from that point forward, I was down to do whatever, right? Well, you could have told me from that point of me failing, just because of the way you kind of brought that to me, you could have told me to run through a burning building. I would have did it. Because the fact that I thought I could do what I thought I could do and I couldn't, it just shows that you knew a lot more than what I knew at that very present time. So everything that you're saying to the listener right now, man, if you take away anything from it, it's definitely stay in the present moment, understand how to deal with adversity, have a freaking plan, right? And then you need to find yourself a Coach Gil. You may not be able to find him per se, but you need to find someone that's very much like him, right? I know, like just like you, your father, you were you're very close to your father. Same thing with me. My father put me in sports very early on. And but when you get to that age, and I guess this is a cultural thing, but we get to that age like 10, 11, 12, 13. And you had mentioned it earlier, where your dad could say all the right things, but they don't resonate, right? I'm not listening to that. I'm trying to see what my peers are doing. I'm trying to see exactly what my social, like what they're up on. He don't know what he's talking about. So there was a point in time where that happened. And then I needed someone to come and fill that void. And that happened to be you, right? So now I'm listening to everything you're saying. I'm added the fact that you know football, right? But it's something that helped drive and continue to drive and drive and drive into this moment, into this time, continues to drive for success. So I know that you said you didn't need to coach and you don't want to coach, but you're always going to be a coach. There's no shape around it.
He's a coach. He's literally that is his profession by nature. He is it may not be football, but he's a coach. He's a coach, right? And Jamel, that synopsis was the best synopsis that I have heard since we've been doing this. That was profound and amazing. Everything that you just touched on. And to people listening, student athletes, parents, coaches, one gap that I want to talk about in that is that gap between the age of like 13, 14, or 11 to 13, 14, whatever. When you stop listening to your parent, right? You stop listening to the person who was guiding you and, putting knowledge on you and things like that. Then you have that gap. So from that age, Jamel, that you were listening to your pops, you had a gap, and then you met Coach Gil. Mm-hmm. Find yourself your Coach Gil before that gap, and you can go further. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine if you had a Coach Gil in 10th grade, you probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Well, I will say this: there's only one of one. Coach Gill's one of one, right? Ain't no. Someone that has those components that's going to help you with your growth, with dealing with adversity, with staying in the present moment, like all the key things that we were just talking about. You got to find that person, who he is, and I don't like talking about the flowers and all that shit, with all that stuff, right? Throw my flowers on my throw it on my damn gravesite. I don't need to throw no flowers.
You got to give flowers in the present.
Nah, let's work, man.
Stay in the present moment.
Stay in the present. Exactly. Throw that thing on a tombstone and call it a day. All right. But the fact that this man, I don't think I think and I think people as your career, your tenure as a coach started to kind of go towards the end, like at post, you were able to have those moments of people telling you how much they appreciated and how much they understood. Because I thought in the beginning it was like just it was a select few of guys that followed and was on the same page and on board. But as you continue to go through your track, man, it's been nothing but great success. And I hope that that's something that even if you don't coach football, you can continue to do and continue to help and continue to mentor and continue to show and continue to spread this information because it's needed. It really is needed, man.
I needed it today, damn it. I needed it.
Coach Gil, I got another question for you though, man.
Sure.
All right. Charlie Fry.
Yep.
All right. Can you tell, and I know this is kind of going backwards a little bit, but I want them to know, who you were as a player. Did you play very much in college?
No.
Why was that?
The guy ahead of me we mentioned Charlie Fry. He started in the NFL for about 5 seasons. So he was a better player than me. So, which kind of is the reason why that I didn't play.
Okay. Now, at the college level, Division I level, it's a lot of demand, right? A lot of having to do things, a lot of being on time, a lot of staying prepared. Sure. How did you do all those things knowing that you had a guy like Charlie Fry ahead of you? And I'm asking because I want these guys that are entering the transfer portal, right? Like it's hotcakes. Everyone's in the portal. They don't want to fight through no adversity, right? What was it that you hung on to, and how did that help you?
Yeah, so a couple things. One thing I'll say about the transfer portal is, one thing I'll say is, certain people are transferring. Everybody transfer for different reasons. Nowadays, sometimes somebody might transfer because they're getting more money with NIL. Some people might transfer because they were asked to transfer. Some people transfer because they generally don't want competition. So there's, back in the day, there was no incentive to transferring laterally because you had to sit out. That changed a couple of years ago. I think 2 years ago, it actually changed where you don't have to sit out anymore. Now that people are just looking for better opportunities, especially with NIL, I think receiver from Pitt just left Pitt, and I think he got a huge deal at USC. So transfer is not the same as when I was playing. So I don't want to compare myself to other athletes, but the real reason I stayed, and it was really easy, because I saw myself getting better every year, substantially better. I mean, I'm chasing a guy that when he went into his senior year was a Heisman Trophy candidate. I know I wouldn't be as good if I just wouldn't be as good if I transferred down, because there was no option transferring laterally because you had to sit out a year. So it's either transfer down or stay. And football back then, to be quite honest with you, was so different at the lower levels. There was a premier program at Hofstra University of Long Island. Back then, I know for a fact that they didn't have a strength coach. I mean, so they were going, here they are, having a great record, great season, 11 wins, maybe 1 loss, going to the playoffs with no strength coach. I mean, you can't have a football program without an organized strength coach. That's just impossible. So I kind of had a negative opinion of lower level football just because of the Hofstra experience. And I'm sure not all schools are like that, but transferring down was not an option. All I feared about was getting worse as a player and laterally. So, I was just happy with how much progress I was making. Yeah, he was better than me, and every year I tried to compete for the job against him. And it was obviously something I wasn't successful at. And but at the end of the day, the greatest compliment I got, like I tell people all the time, I shouldn't tell people all the time, but I told people occasionally, was my senior year. The offense coordinator asked, name 3 people on this side of the ball that won't let you go off a cliff. And, me and Charlie Fry were both picked. So I was only backup picked of the 3 people on offense. So I had, my point is, the fact that I have so much respect for my teammates for a variety of different reasons. Skill obviously is one of them, but it wasn't the main reason. But I was good. I just wasn't good enough.
Do you think, well, not do you, before I get to that, did you try to play at the next level after school ended?
No. I mean, I kind of looked at it like, there was a little interest from kind of a lower level. To me, it's one of my weaknesses. I am arrogant.
No, you're not.
No, I'm a little arrogant. When it comes to certain things, I'm arrogant. I mean, I'm not arrogant when it comes to food. I'll eat anything when it comes to food. Some people, if it's not cooked at the right temperature, they send it back. I mean, I don't care. But when it comes to like football, I'm very arrogant.
Dry ass turkey sandwiches you used to bring to workouts.
That's right. So I'm not arrogant there. But when it comes to football, I'm arrogant. So if it wasn't the NFL, like I had no interest in playing lower levels of football. Just wasn't a thought of my mind.
Well, I'm happy you decided to do that, man, because we had Andrew Jackson on a while ago, because we've been doing these for a little bit, and one of the things that he actually gives you credit for his coaching career. He had told us a story about how he was doing GA work, and he was in the back of the room, I guess, doing some work, drawing cards or whatever, and you persuade him into going out and becoming a coach and helping the guys out, since he's going to be there anyway. And I know you guys are going to listen to Andrew's podcast before we get Coach Gill's on. You can see his track record, where he ended up, and how much respect and honor and all the great things that he said about the importance that you have in his life. So I'm happy that you decided not to take that chance and do the thing that most people do when they finish playing college football and try to make a run for the NFL, because we would have missed out on a few years of having you. Right?
That's a big fact.
I want to ask you this, right? We always play a little bit of a quick game here. I'm gonna give you some words. I want you to kind of just give us the first thing that comes to mind. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I want to see you rattle these things off, man. Confidence.
Myself.
Focus.
Myself.
Refocus.
Tom Brady.
Anxiety.
Common suffer, something everybody suffers from, everybody.
Adrenaline.
David Goggins.
Adversity.
Jesus.
Toughness.
Vander Holyfield.
Mental toughness.
Michael Jordan.
Fixed mindset.
Say it one more time.
Fixed mindset.
Don't have one for that.
Growth mindset.
My wife.
Pivoting.
Myself.
Success.
You.
Failure.
Something I love.
All right. Those are all the ones I got, man. That was a good job. I thought you were gonna give me myself. I was gonna say, all right, Marshawn Lynch. When you hear
that was the arrogance right there. That was the arrogance you were saying. I love it though. I love it. So I have a closing question. What's next for Coach Gil?
I don't know right now. Figure it out, to be honest with you. I go through daily prayers, daily thoughts. There are moments where, I'd say maybe for a couple minutes, maybe longer, where I wonder about the future, because the future is unknown. But then I kind of recenter myself and trust in God, and feel like wherever he's going to take me, he's going to take me. It's kind of been no man's land, trying to break into new fields and being told you don't have experience. I do think I had a lot of value to offer in these type of fields, but I think sometimes people just kind of take a very lazy view of who I am and what I am. But I do believe in God that things will happen for me. I really do. It's not just podcast talk or feel good talk. Is what I really believe. And so anytime once, twice a month when I have moments where that didn't work out, that didn't work out, that didn't work out. And I'm wondering, like, is anything going to work out? And then I'm just like, you know what? It's just really, it didn't work out because God didn't want it to work out. And that's what I believe, my heart and soul. And so once I kind of recenter on that, yeah, but I do like to help kids, and that's what I want to do. But I don't want to help kids under the nonsense of coaching, the whole structure, the whole bureaucracy. And I'm not talking about the political aspects of who you know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, if a kid is really bad at throwing a football, you guys understand this, right? He's really bad at throwing a football, and you're gonna say, "Why is he on the team? Who cares?" Okay, you can say that to me if the kid don't give a damn. If a kid don't give a damn, I'm with you. Who cares? I'll be the first one to tell him who cares. But if a kid really genuinely cares and he's really bad at throwing the football, how are you able to get that kid better at football under the bureaucracy of the rules, which only give you 20 hours a week? You got games to work. You got games to prepare for. So, really, you're not focusing on that young man because you got a game to prepare for that obviously other players you care about are playing in. And then you go into the off season where you barely allowed any time with him at all. Otherwise, you got to do what I did and break the rules. And that was one of the benefits of working where I worked is Coach Brian Collins was very hands off, and he cared that you did your work, and you did your work. He left you alone, so I was able to do whatever I wanted to do. That's not really how this works. And I'm sure you talk to Andrew Jackson. That's not how this works. I mean, every minute of the day is accounted for. You can't just go off and go meet your player off to the side behind some closed area where no one could see you and train and work with him for an hour to get him better. And it's crazy. I want people to listen to this to understand, like, I know how backwards that sounds to you. Okay. I hope it does sound backwards to you, because when it comes to the academic area, which I get, you can meet the student. There's no limitation on how many times a student can meet with a teacher in office hours. And I get it. Sometimes these rules are put in place because coaches would abuse them. I understand all that. I get that fly, but at the end of the day, you got to come up with a way to kind of circumvent that system here. Like, it just does, because kids are suffering because they try to go somewhere and they're not good enough and not skilled enough to play there, and they're kind of just left by the wayside. And they're like, oh well, right. Like, you should have been good enough when you came here, otherwise you shouldn't have came here. And that's not your job as a coach. Your job as a coach is bring out the best in everybody. So it's kind of, when I talk about bureaucracy of coaching football, that's kind of what I'm more meaning that point. None of that as far as the political, who knows who. That's not that type of game. So I'm really not interested in that. So I just like to help kids and be around my family. That's kind of what I want to do. So,
speaking of family, your lovely family that I happen to know, very well. I was fortunate enough to know very well. Fortunate. What are some of the things? I was having a conversation with one of my friends up here, and he was telling about fatherhood, right? And how speaking to coaches like yourself and what you guys had, said you were developing us as players to become, stand-up citizens and great fathers, right? That's like the key words that they use when they're talking to young athletes, or the coaches say to young athletes. Are you able to use some of those things within the coaching world and apply it to yourself, not to your child, but to yourself, to become that elite father, right? Because that's what we were talking about, regular fathers and elite fathers, right? And I think from a competitive standpoint, you want to be elite in anything that you do. Is there anything that you take away from your coaching world that you could apply to yourself to help you become that elite father, or help develop yourself into the elite fatherhood?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just being an example. When I coached, I tried to be an example to the people I was responsible for. At the end of the day, players, the greatest gift a coach can have is when a player puts complete trust and faith in you. That's the greatest gift. But like anything with trust and faith, right, it's gained in drops and lost in buckets. So it's being an example to your child, just like you try to be an example to your players. So if you want them to get up at 5:30 in the morning and actually be in the weight room at 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, which are things that we've done, you got to be there yourself. You want them to give up their period of time of their life for their dream. You got to be willing to give up a period of time of your life. But the thing with coaching, that why I kind of regret it so much, to be quite honest with you, is probably the biggest regret I have, is because with me, the period of life never ended. It just keeps cycling over and over. There's a point in my life, well, up into coaching, really, where nothing else mattered in my life. No disrespect to anybody else out there. I'm just telling you, nobody went harder than me. I'm not talking about Bill Belichick, who I have great respect for, Mike Tomlin, two guys that are tremendous legends. I'm not talking about hours on the film room. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about spending their soul with other people's kids. Like, that was I'm on my honeymoon every single day. Okay, it's the only time I missed summer workouts. I did it since 2005 all the way to 2000. Last year, it was 2018 summer was the last year I did it. So whatever, 14 years. Every day, I never missed except on honeymoon. Every day I'm on the honeymoon, calling this guy, how was the workout there? What'd you want to do? This guy making nonstop. My whole life was based on other people's kids. My whole life. It's different than watching film. Okay. You're taking time out of your day, constantly checking up on people, constantly, every single day. So my period of my life never ended. So, players, they go 4 or 5 years and, they make it great. They don't make it, they go on to the next phase of their life. And that's it. They gave their all for that period, but now it's over. With me, it's just a new group of players and a new group of players and a new group of players. And, at the point where my family's told me on numerous occasions, my parents, my brother, other people in my life told me nothing else matters than your players. And they're 100%. They were 100% right. Like, I didn't give a damn what it was. Like, you couldn't tell me. Like, I couldn't fathom skipping anything for anything, to be quite honest with you. And so I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired of it, to be honest with you. I'm tired of it. And I feel like I'd be cheating everything I've talked about to go back. I'd be cheating everything I've talked about to go back. And someone can easily come on here and some Einstein come on here and say, yeah, you need to adjust. Life is all balance and this, that. But there are some people that cannot balance. And I'm not interested in balancing, because that's not what I preach to the players. It's not balancing.
That's not your thing.
I preach a relentless pursuit of excellence, period. And so I'm not interested in it.
Wow, that is heavy as hell.
So that's what you're going to be. You're going to be a relentless father, right? You're going to be that elite father, because you're going to use those things.
I got a long way to go.
We all do, Coach.
I'm a terrible father.
We're new to it. We're new to this, my man. We're new to this. We're not even 2 years in. We're new to this. So
I'm hoping I could be better. But I just need to be around. First thing I need to do, like, first step, right? Having a plan, right, to get better. Like we just talked about, right? Taking your steps. You need to have a plan. So my first plan is to be more present. This past season, I saw my child 2 days out the week. So if you go from August 1st to, pretty much Thanksgiving, let's just say December 1st for simple math, August, September, October, November, December. So 5 months, 20 weeks. Okay. In that 20 weeks, I'd see her 8 times a month. So, I'd see her 8 times a month times 5 months, 40 days. I'm sorry. Like, so the first step is me which I have been, being more present, being able to take her to school, that's the first step, being a better father, and being an elite father is being present. So that's like step one, to be honest with you. And then step two is me teaching her things, which I'm working on, but I'm not that good at it. But at least it's in the works.
I respect it. I respect it.
Wow.
All right, man. Well, listen, Coach, as always, man, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. You shed some light on a lot of things, and I think you share a perspective that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to. But even for those that don't relate, they'll be able to understand. Whatever you decide to do with your future endeavors, I'm sure you're going to do tremendous things and continue to build up tremendous people. And even though you felt like you never stopped, because it was always like the next group, every group that you got out, you gained more people to kind of resonate. You're putting really great people out in the society, continue to change this thing to make it a place where the daughter that you now have will be able to function in society. Hopefully that is what you've helped build. So your time wasn't wasted. Your time wasn't lost. I'm telling you, I appreciate you, and not that whole flower thing. I know, Marlon, that's what you say, and I'm not disrespecting it, right? But when you really are genuine in what you do, and the people that you work with are genuine, you don't need nothing, man. You got it, right? So that's just my perspective on it. So I appreciate you, Coach. I appreciate you taking your time out. And I say thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Plus one to that, Coach Gil, you mentioned that bamboo tree, all the watering that takes place before that bamboo tree sprouts up. I want you to know that your bamboo tree is en route. The tracking numbers on that bamboo tree is coming. Your personal bamboo tree for all of the watering that you did for everyone else's kids, right? That time you put in that, those summers on a loop, they didn't end. They were on a loop, an infinity loop. And now it stops, right? Your bamboo tree is on its way. I want to personally say thank you for changing my life, right? And I want to thank you for changing the lives of my teammates, my peers, my friends. You know, what you have done for so many people is absolutely invaluable. We can't quantify what it means through words. But all I can do right now is say thank you. And I want you to never, ever feel like that went unappreciated, unnoticed from all of us. I just want to say that.
I appreciate it. You guys were my first guinea pigs. So I appreciate
Hot
it.
summer days, man. Hot summer days. Them 110s and them hot summer days. After you get to like 5, we all wanted to fight each other. I'm like, all right, man, y'all better make all these runs, man. I'm not doing the extra.
For real, not running no extras.
Hell no.
Right.
It made jackhammers, man, and everybody that you worked with that really bought into it is successful. We got coaches Andrew Jackson at West Virginia. We got coaches Mike Soleni at Ohio State. We got Sean Banks. We got Marlon working at Google. We got Woody, an entrepreneur who continues to do great things, just to name a few. And myself, I am who I am, and you guys know. So
you all right.
All these things that we learned from, we call you in my coaching office Yoda, right? All the guru, right? We learned all that stuff from you, and we will always continue to do things. And if you need anything from us, just don't hesitate, man. We always got your back for sure.
Sure, I appreciate it. All right.
I'm gonna stop.